Hey guys, I am here with Razor Rob McCullough, and I'm really excited about this interview. We're actually here at the UFC. Is this the corporate office?
This is UFC Gym corporate office.
Corporate office in Santa Ana?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Santa Ana, California.
We got this cool backdrop of his WEC lightweight championship belt. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about your background, and I think this is pretty awesome. You're working for the UFC. I think that's a job that a lot of fighters or anyone who loves the sport might aspire to. So just to give you a little bit of a background on Rob, I'm going to read you some of his stats, some notable opponents that he's come up against, and some organizations. So for the people who don't know, Rob has an MMA record of 19-8. He was active from 2001 to 2011. Some organizations he's fought in were the WEC, where he became the champion, lightweight champion, Dream, WFA, Palace Fighting, Bellator, King of the Cage, a plethora. He also fought K1, and a few notable opponents, but not all of them, were Josh Thompson, Nam Phan, Kit Cope, Donald Cerrone, Jamie Varner, Patricky Pitbull, and Corey Hill, and a bunch of others. So now that you guys know he's a badass, I want to ask you just like, what about little Rob? How did you get started? Where were you born and raised? And just tell the followers about that.
I was born in Huntington Beach, California, and I still reside there. I lived there till I was about 10. I moved to Alaska when I was 11 for a year and a half. My parents had split up, and I moved with my sister. Started wrestling there in 6th grade.
In Alaska?
Mm-hmm. Mountain View Elementary School. I was the kid from California, so yeah, it was very interesting. I learned how to hunt and fish though, which was cool, and snowboard. Then I moved back and I lived in Huntington Beach, and then I kind of went on the couch tour with my mom in motels and stuff. But I found training at a local gym, LA Boxing, and that's kind of how I got started.
How old were you when you started training at LA Boxing?
14.
14. Wow. So LA Boxing. For you people that don't know, all the UFC gyms were converted from LA Boxing. That's how it got started, correct?
Yeah, LA Boxing. It started in, I think it was 1993, and it got acquired by UFC Gym in 2013.
Cool. And now you've come full circle and you work for the
Yes.
gym, which is pretty awesome. Cool. Well, so you started wrestling, you started fighting at LA Boxing. At what point did you make it a career?
I was like the annoying kid at the gym who just would show up and try to learn how to use the bags or the equipment, or I'm going to jump rope for 5 minutes longer. And one of the coaches was like, "Hey kid, teach class for me, bro. I'm going to go across the street and get drunk." And I was like, I don't really teach. He's like, "Here's $20. I was like, "I'll teach class. I'll give $20. And so that's literally how it started. It was like 1995. Started teaching class. Then it transitioned from teaching class to, "Hey, do you want to open the gym on Saturday mornings? Because nobody wants to get up that early." So I was like, "Yeah, sure." I lived down the street with my buddy. And it was like a Saturday morning, and this guy walked in with his kid. They weren't members. His kid was like wearing a bandana and was like all looked out, like looking around. He's like, "Hey, do you have any sparring for my kid?" And I was sitting there. I was like, "How much does your kid weigh?" He's like, 140. And I was like, "As much as I weighed." So I was like, "I'll spar your kid." And he's like, "Can I videotape it?" And I was like, "Sure." And this was, 90s. So like he had this big old video camera and a tripod, and I put it up. And I think back now, he was like toying with me, like he was pumping jabs, inside leg kicks and circling, and I was just like trying to clobber him with overhand rights and kick him. And afterwards, he was like, "Do you want to fight?" And I was like, and I would tell those people all the time, which was like a deciding. Had I said no, would I be here today? But I was like, "Yeah, sure."
It was a turning point for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like it was an opportunity, and I was like, "Yeah." I was just like, "Yeah, cool. I'll figure it out."
Who was this person?
So it was Freddie Medrano was his name, and his dad pulled out. He was a U.S. kickboxing champ at the time. So I was like, "That's your belt?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, cool, man." He got me a smoker fight, and then I was with his little Santa Fe Springs boxing club for like I don't know, good couple of years. They would get me fights. I would show up,
Cool.
fight.
Just boxing.
No, it was kickboxing.
Oh, kickboxing.
But it was like, they did this whole like fight team, but it was out of
yeah.
Santa Fe Springs, so it was like a bunch of gangster cholo kids. But I mean, it suited me at the time. So.
Okay, so you went into kickboxing, and then I mean, did you do amateur fights? Did you go straight to pro?
At the time, it was really weird. I had literally one smoker fight where I wore headgear and shin pads, and then I won. It was weird. I fought at some little church.
What, a church?
1996, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they had a little ring. I was wearing like these big old shin pads. I fought this kid named David Blocker, which I found out we're friends on LinkedIn now. That's interesting. And I remember he had a bunch of fights. Everyone knew who he was. And like before we fought, he got in the ring and like did this whole kata thing, jumped up, was doing these spinning back kicks. And I was like, cool, I'm going to punch that guy in the face. And I remember I won, it was his birthday too. I won on a decision. And then the dad said another moment, hey, do you want to fight? What did you think? Was it fun? I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, keep training. I'll get you another fight.
Okay.
So I had that one fight, and then I fought 1997 in that's that actually belt in there. January 25th, 1997.
Wow.
At the Four Queens in Las Vegas.
That's amazing. There's a whole bunch of belts over there. I'll try and show you guys. Yeah, it's amazing. Those are all his. Good stuff. So this one little smoker fight turned into
a career.
A really, really beneficial career. Awesome. So I mean, you started kickboxing, and then how did you go from kickboxing to mixed martial arts?
All my training partners, all my buddies that were coming in, were all doing striking and Muay Thai and kickboxing, boxing together. We're all kind of doing no holds barred. Right, as everybody's calling it. It's no holds barred. Or they're aspiring to like, I want to fight in UFC. And I was like, cool. At the time, they didn't have lower weight classes either. So I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I'll stick to kickboxing. And I wasn't that good at wrestling. I didn't really like the grappling part of it. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll kick you guys in the leg if you want to spar. And then when I was going to Huntington Beach High School, I went to school with Tito Ortiz and Tony Gonzalez, which was kind of random. They become like these superstar guys. But Tito came to our gym after his very first UFC fight, and he was like, hey, bro, I want to learn that stand-up. He's like, I got to get that. And I was like, I'm down, bro. I'll kick you in the leg. I was like, no takedowns, though. And I remember asking him, no takedowns, though. I was like, where do you run? Because I ran every night 5 miles in the sand at the beach. And he's like, well, I don't run. I was like, all right, you can chase me. And that's kind of how we started training. And then at one point, he was like, bro, you got to start doing this. He's like, you're going to make more money. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. And I was like, well, I kind of started thinking like, I want to have financial goals. I want to buy a house one day. I want to live in Huntington Beach. And I was like, it seemed like it seemed like a dream. Like nobody in my family owns a home. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I do want to make money. And then I fought in K1 twice and I made $6,000. And I was like, I spent 2 months devoted to this camp. I spent, I don't know, some money training and everything else, driving to practice. And then to make $6,000, I was like, I'd have to fight like twice a month to own a home in Huntington Beach. So I was like, all right, I'll try doing MMA or no holds barred. And we knew Dana because Dana was Tito's manager at the time. So I literally had his phone. I was like, hey, bro, like give me a fight in UFC. And he's like, well, Tito said you need to wrestle. He's like, you need to wrestle, so get a couple fights, wrestle, and fight like King of the Cage. He's like, and then we'll get you a fight. And he went to the first couple MMA fights I had.
Dana did?
Yeah, and he was like, bro, these should have been in the UFC. So I was like, bro, that's what I've been saying. But I was very fortunate that I had someone looking out for my best interest. Yeah. Tito was like, bro, I went against Josh Thompson, and Josh laid on me for 15 minutes. He got me in a triangle, I escaped, but 15 minutes, he just elbowed me in the face, and I was like, okay.
I'll work on my wrestling.
I need to wrestle. Yeah. I need to be able to get up from the bottom.
Yeah. Hard life lesson.
Yeah. I mean, it was I remember at one point calling him on, I looked at him and he goes, do you want me to throw in the towel? And I was like, no, dude, I'm going to knock this dude out. He's like, that doesn't really look like it. I was like, whatever. I'm smashing this guy. So I kept going back. And I was like, oh.
That's awesome.
But it drove me to go, all right, I want to really like stop training and dedicate time to just grappling.
And that was what organization?
World Fighting Alliance.
World Fighting Alliance.
I fought in it a couple times, yeah.
Awesome. And you gradually kept fighting all these different promotions. What was your favorite promotion to fight for? I mean, because you got the belt, was that your favorite, or did you have better memories somewhere else?
No, I mean, WC for sure was my home. Zuffa purchased it, so it was a Zuffa, and I was the very first lightweight champion for Zuffa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then majority of my fights were in Las Vegas. So, I mean, you have a camp, and you go to Vegas, it's like you bring all your buddies, your training partners, and it's like they all get to go out and do stuff. And I'm like, so what did you guys do? I'm cutting weight. I'm like, tell me what you guys do last night. It was fun. And I started playing cards, and I actually kind of got good at blackjack. So when all my buddies would go out do stuff, I was like, I'm gonna go play cards, and I'd sit down and just like play something. I was like, this is so much fun. I love Vegas. Cool. So I had good memories in Vegas.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess my next question kind of transitions in after you got done fighting. Well, actually, no, you're still fighting. I just want to know. There's some fighters that are superstitious, you know, they wear the same underwear, weird stuff, you know, or they have the same song. Did you ever have to do certain things? Were you superstitious, same music, anything like that? Something interesting?
I used the same music for a little bit. It was like Korn, that song Blind, like the Are You Ready?
Oh yeah,
that one, like so long. Like people were like, how old is this guy?
I used to love Korn in like 6th grade.
Yeah. Oh my god, how did this happen? One thing I would do, like I was literally like couch surfing when I started training, so I lived with my friends. Like I would clean up where I was staying, like the room or whatever. Because like in my mind I was like, all right, I'm coming back to celebrate because afterwards we're gonna party.
Yeah.
So like that became kind of like get my mind off of it. And I liked, it sounds weird, but I liked when I had to sell tickets to my fights because I had to do all the math and like it kind of got my mind off of like you're getting ready to fight. But I liked the fighting part.
That's one way of looking at it. Wow. I know a lot of fighters that have to sell tickets. It's just one more, like a hassle to them. But if you look at it, you know, in a positive way, it kind of takes your mind off the fight.
Took my mind off the fight, and I taught class. So my whole fight career I was teaching. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really in my mind like a fighter. I was more of I was a fighter, but I was more of a coach. Mm-hmm. I just happened to be able to fight and like invite all my members and students to like, hey, well, I'm gonna fight this weekend. Just come buy tickets, come check it out. So it was like a perfect awesome. Business scenario. Yeah.
Probably went hand in hand. Probably was easy to sell tickets. That's great. Cool. It's not a fun question, but was there ever like a super low point in your career? And in addition, how did you come back from that?
Yeah, I mean, you win, you start collecting belts, and people start going, dude, you're the shit, and you're like, yeah, and at some point, if you don't have the right support system, you're like, yeah, I am the shit, and that can, you know, it's a dangerous business if you're not, you know what I mean, if you're mentally not there, but you think you are, and you show up and you're like, oh, cool, I'm ready to do this, like, you have a bad day at work, that's one thing, you have a bad day when someone's trying to beat your face in, that's a whole other thing. So yeah, definitely there's been parts where I was like, oh man, but I've never like regretted like even like the losses and everything else I've gone through. It's like, hey, it got me here, and I have a beautiful family and good job and cool experiences. So I don't definitely regret any of it, but there was definitely lows to it where I was like, man, I should have done better. I wish I would have done this.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean that's obviously part of it. I'm unfortunately coming off a loss right now, and you know I feel, you know, that is ultimately the lowest point. But other than that, I love training camp. We win majority of the time, you know, like being with our teammates. So yeah, if that's the worst part of your career was just losing every once in a while, or you know, that's not a low point. That's good. Nothing else ever came to mind. No low points.
No. I mean, I really, really enjoyed training. Yeah. To me, the fight was cutting weight. So once I cut weight, I was like, all right, now it's all the fun stuff. Like I can fight somebody and not go to jail for it. and then I'm going to get paid. And then it just kept going. I was like, wait, now I'm on TV and people like in the airport recognize you and they're like, hey. I was like, this is super cool. Yeah.
So people recognized you. Were you, like in the prime of your career, were you known for something, one, inside the cage, maybe like technically that you did a lot, and also two, outside, maybe characteristically, personality-wise?
The outside thing, I think I'd have to have someone else answer it.
Are you pleading the fifth?
Kind of pleading the fifth on this one.
We're going to keep it
clean. Yeah, I think low kicks was my thing.
Low kicks.
Yeah, because I was a professional Muay Thai fighter, and that was kind of my thing, was kicking people in the leg. Yeah. And I could set it up really well. Yeah. I think it doesn't matter what you're good at doing, but if you don't have a good setup, I think my setup was pretty good.
Yeah, and you said that your grappling wasn't the best, or you didn't want to go to the ground and kick the crap out of somebody's legs. Everything's hard to do, stand, grapple, everything.
Yeah, so. Kicking someone in the leg and them getting that look on their face of like, yeah, and they're like, oh, that sucked. And then they desperation shots, or they're like, they stand and start banging. And you're like, all right, cool, put all that weight on your front leg again. So to me, I think that was probably the one.
Cool. So you had this amazing career. We just saw your belts. If you're an MMA fan, you know who Rob is. Why did you... when and why did you decide to transition from fighting into the corporate job or whatever else you did after fighting?
it seems like it went by so fast. Like I turned around, like, you know, when you're like a kid and was like, it goes by fast. And now that I'm a parent, like I tell their parents, I'm like, hey, take lots of pictures and enjoy it because it goes by fast.
Yeah.
The kids grow up. I turned around and I think it was like one of the camps, the Jamie Varner camp. I was defending my belt. And I realized I took everybody up to Big Bear, and I had Tito Ortiz's camp, which was like Oscar De La Hoya's old training camp. So I brought all my training partners up there, and we're sitting there every night. Like I have to supply them food and everything else, right? Obviously, because it's my camp. And they're all sitting there, and they're all young guys. They're all my training partners, and it's like me and my buddy Tiki, and we're like talking and sharing stories. And I realized like it was really like a family thing, which I didn't really have growing up. So I appreciated that, and then I realized like this was like a whole camaraderie thing, and I wasn't the young kid anymore that was like at the table. Like it was my camp. I was flipping the bill for all of it, and it was like, oh yeah, it was a different perspective to look at. I was like, oh yeah, I'm the older guy now.
You had a light bulb moment.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, but maybe start really thinking about like, what am I doing in the future?
So did you start? Did you like put a resume in? Do you fill stuff out online? Like, how did you get to where you are now? Were there jobs before this corporate job with the UFC?
No, like I said, I always taught. I started gym with my best friend 2000, HB Ultimate.
Nice.
Still runs.
It's still there?
Yeah, still there. Still training camp for Rampage and a bunch of other guys.
I think I just interviewed Congo last night, and he's
training there too. Cool. Yeah. So that was something that I didn't want to be on the business side of it. Because I was like, hey, dude, I'll teach all the coaches. I'll train. I still train. I was there this morning and trained 3 privates before I came to office here.
Never stopped coaching. That's cool.
I really, really enjoyed coaching because you learn faster too when you have to show people stuff.
Solidifies it too.
Yeah, like you take a different part of your brain and you're like, oh yeah, wait, that's why I'm doing it. Okay. So to me, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that. But I was doing that. I was at a kid's birthday party with my very first son, and the guy who franchised LA Boxings was there, and I had been introduced to him a few times. So I started LA Boxing, I told you my story, like as a kid. So I was like, what's up, Anthony? Good to see you, bro. And he said, I got to ask you, you're out with your friends all the time, Tito and Rampage and all these other dudes. He's like, every time I meet you, you always shake my hand, you remember my name. He's like, and I introduce myself to these guys all the time. How come you remember my name? How come? And I said, bro, we're like family, LA Boxing. And he's like, well, and he hands me a business card. He's like, if you ever want a job, man, I'm hiring for the director of instructor training. And I was like, yeah, that's cute. Thanks, dude. But I fight for a living. And he's like, well, you can't do that forever. And my wife was like, hey, babe. And at the time, I think I was 33. So I was like the thought of me not fighting didn't really make sense. But I did own a home, and it was a rental property in my mind of like, hey, I'm gonna produce a revenue out of it. But I purchased it in 2007, and if you know anything about the economy, 2008, it went like this. So I paid almost $800,000 for this house, and it was worth half the next year. And I was like, oh God, like that doesn't really seem like a good idea all of a sudden. So I had that. When I first started, again, I was sleeping on people's couches, right? So I had zero overhead. Like I just had to make sure I ate, right? And then all of a sudden I had a little kid, I was married, I had a home, and I was like, wow, like I have big boy problems. I have issues that I'm gonna need to make money. So I had to start thinking long term. And the when you're competing, especially when I had sponsors all the time that were paying me monthly or paying me for fights, and they're like, hey bro, if you don't do well in a fight, they're like, we're rebudgeting this year. I gotta make sure.
No pressure.
Yeah, so I was like, dude, cool. Like I had to start thinking like I have a mortgage, and that every month hits, and I have to make sure that
you need constant income.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, teaching is fun, but it wasn't paying the bills.
Exactly.
It was cool, like side money. My wife had mentioned it to my father-in-law, her dad, and he kept asking me, hey, did you follow up on that? What do you think? I mean, that sounds like a cool opportunity. And I was like, bro. Like,
I'm a fighter.
Now, yeah. So I didn't have a contract. I'm sitting on my couch. I got cut on my contract. My manager's like, hey, bro, you got a fight left, and they pulled you out of it. I lost a stupid split decision I should have won. And it was my bad, though. Like, I should have finished it, dude. I was an idiot. I should, Anyways, a whole other story.
We make poor decisions sometimes.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll go check it out. Went down, checked it out. It was like a cubicle in this office building that had no windows. And I was like, no way. I would much rather keep fighting. It was around that time that movie The Wrestler came out, too.
Yeah, with
Mickey
Rourke.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke, yeah.
And so, if you watch that movie, he's like an older dude, and he's like out wrestling and just smashing himself up. And he's like, going to motels and like doing these things. And I was like, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
It made me really start thinking, I already came from that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to that, and I'm not going to have my kids go through that.
Yeah.
And if you know my wife, she's like a super diva. So I was like, right. I was just like, that fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah, I got this. Don't worry about it. You don't even need to work. I got this.
Yeah.
And I went and checked it out. The dude finally was like, all right, I'll check it out. My manager's like, I'll give you some fights in between.
Mm-hmm.
What really set it home was I got an offer from Dream.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, hey, we want you to fight. We want you to fight the main event. You're going to fight against the champion. And I was like, all right, that sounds cool. Mm-hmm. And they were going to pay me well, but they're kind of notorious for not paying guys. So I was like, hey, let's make sure that we have this whole thing like structured. Yeah. I don't want to go out there and waste my time. I was doing a loan modification on my house because the economy went like this, and I had a negatively amortized fixed arm loan. That's like a mouthful. And that was a
big person problems.
Dude, and I'm like the guy who's like, yeah, I'll kick people in the leg. And all of a sudden I'm like, I don't even know what a negatively amortized fixed arm loan is.
You have to adult hard now all of a sudden.
Super hard adulting. So, yeah, I realized that my overhead was extremely high living by the beach, and I needed to figure out how I was going to pay my bills. And so I was taking fights. I decided I was going to part-time this job, and the guy's job description was just answer some emails and just train coaches. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, we had kind of discussed I was going to get paid this because it was comparable to what I'm getting paid in fighting. And he's like, well, after a couple paychecks, I was like, hey, what you said I was going to get paid. Mm-hmm. And the dude was very smart, and I can appreciate the tutor knowledge that he gave. He was like, hey, you got to hustle for those, bro. Like, you're going to do that. You got to do seminars. You got to do this other stuff. Yeah. And I was like, all right. So I just started selling seminars. And he said, hey, you get all of my franchisees to sell seminars to. So I was like, how do I make it appealing for someone to want me to be at their gym? Not only like the promotional part of like, yeah, he's a former champion. Yeah. But I was like, I got to add like some extreme value. Yeah. So that's why I started going and getting as many certifications as I possibly could.
There's a buttload of certifications up here. Yeah.
So I was like, hey, if I can talk to a personal trainer and they can go, hey, he understands the science, and I can certify him in CPR, TRX, and foam rolling, and literally everything I could possibly think of. I was like, hey, then that's going to definitely help my staying power.
Sweet. USA Wrestling. Successfully completing the bronze level of USA Wrestling National Coaches Education Program.
Yeah.
Coming from a guy who hated wrestling and just wanted to kick people in the leg, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, we got a USA Wrestling program with UFC Gym. It's like a ranking system.
What?
Yeah, and they get like badges and stuff. It's
that's
pretty dope.
I didn't know about that. Look at this. Good job, UFC and USA Wrestling, for collaborating. Two of my favorite organizations.
That's pretty awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was...
Yeah, well, I think you made the right choice. I think, I mean, I'm not there yet. I'm still, I believe, in my prime, but I can't fight forever, and eventually I'll have to make that hard decision of when, where I want to go, and whatnot, but I think it worked out for you well. So, last question. He is a busy man. He's got to go. We're going to cut this a little short. Any advice for either a current fighter or maybe a fighter who was in a position like you? What should I do now? I mean, it's not an easy lifestyle, but at the same time, if you're in it, you love it. So,
you know, it's funny because people ask me all the time, dude, don't you miss it? And I'm like, no. Or they'll say, not that I don't miss like competing. I still train. I actively do gi jiu-jitsu all the time. I just got my brown belt. Like I was like, bro, I'm never gonna jiu-jitsu. I'm not fighting people in pajamas.
That's what I said.
But now it's like I realize how technical it is and how much fun it is. I can still get out like that whole and I like to lift weights now as opposed to I couldn't do that before. Before I was like, you got to make a weight class. You got to make sure you don't get too big. So I was like, and it'll slow you down. Now I'm like, I don't care. I'm a dad. Whatever.
I'm a dad.
But like the camaraderie of like the camp, right? You're with your buddies every day. You make fart jokes and everything else and talk about the night before. Oh my God, last night. And then you train.
Yeah.
Like that's the part that I missed. That was like, all right. It was like having a bunch of brothers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So to me, but now I made my own brothers. Right? I have little kids. I have two little boys. So.
Plus, I believe that, I mean, it's happened to me with wrestling in college, and I have, teammates now that I guarantee will be teammates and brothers for life. And I'm sure there's people that they were brothers back then, and they're probably still brothers now.
Oh yeah, yeah,
forever.
Yeah, I mean, you train with people. It's like, you
blood,
sweat together.
Tears.
Yeah, blood, sweat,
all
tears.
that stuff.
Yeah, you guys are gonna stay tight.
Cool. Well, if you want to find Rob on social media, where can they find you?
I try to make it super easy. It's at RAZOROB, Razor OB.
Razor OB, and that's like Twitter, Instagram, all the stuff.
Instagram, Facebook.
Just Google it, find him.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I tell fighters this when I interview them, but I don't know. Maybe there's someone else sponsors anything you want to thank.
Yeah, UFC gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, UFC, for a job too.
Thanks,
Sweet.
UFC
Thanks,
Gym.
UFC. Well, thank you, Rob. And Razor Rob, check him out again on Razor OB, all those social media handles, the Twitter sphere, and all that. So, all right. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.